Oh, Christine, you're muted.
Always unfortunate. Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Rogers, and I'm here with the Detroit Promise, and we're back again doing another live to speak to you all about the Detroit Promise on-site scholarships. Christina and Kanisha, you all want to introduce yourself?
Yep. So, hey everyone, my name is Christina, and I currently work as a college advisor for the Detroit Regional Chamber in partnership with the Detroit Promise and the Detroit College Access Network.
Hi everyone. My name is
Sorry, Kanisha.
Hi everybody. Williams, and I am a college advisor with the Detroit Promise as well.
Great. So first, we're going to start off with announcements. We like to start off every live with announcements, let you all know what's going on with the Detroit Promise, the Detroit College Access Network, and any important announcements that we think you all should have access to. So one of them, we want to let you all know that Detroit Promise registration is still open. If there's anyone on the line who has not registered for the Detroit Promise, please do so. It's still open. Go to DetroitPromise.com and register today if you are a senior, or if you know any seniors who are not registered for the Detroit Promise, tell them, anyone in your community, if there are seniors that are not registered for the Detroit Promise, have them register. The next thing we want you all to know is that the Detroit Promise commitment form is open up tomorrow. So what that form is, that's a form where you tell us what school you are going to and where you want to use the Detroit Promise scholarship. You have to be admitted into that school to fill out that form because we need a student ID. And you also need to know your email address and use the same email address that was on the registration form. So I'll repeat, the Detroit Promise commitment form, it will be open tomorrow. For those of you who are watching, please make sure you are already admitted to the school that you plan on using Detroit Promise to. So looking at those SAT updates and make sure that you will actually be eligible for the school that you are submitting your commitment form to, and that you have that college ID. That's very important. You cannot sign a commitment form without that college ID. So make sure you have that. Somehow got kicked out the studio. Don't know how that happened. So I apologize about that. So next thing I want to talk to you all about is the Decan Senior Admitted Days. This is an event for students who have been admitted to these colleges. Let me share my screen. So Decan is having an event for students who have been admitted to Grand Valley, Oakland University, Wayne State University, Henry Ford College, Schoolcraft College, Wayne County Community College, and Oakland Community College. This is an event to celebrate you all, to congratulate seniors who have been admitted to any of the following colleges. And at this event, the colleges will walk you through the next steps. So if you plan on attending any of these schools that you have already been admitted, then definitely go to the Decan's website to find out more information for the senior admitted days. And at this event, like I said, they'll walk you through the next steps. So if you have questions about how to complete your enrollment, what you should do before you get to campus, it's definitely an event that you all should attend. And this is the link where you can RSVP. You need a second to screenshot that, take that down, please do so. And the kickoff celebration starts April 19th, and that's from 3 to 5. And at the kickoff celebration, you will be able to have different workshops on College 101, financial aid award letters, and things about prioritizing mental health, all things essential to help you all navigate that college going process and make sure you all are enrolled and have success in college. Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing that screen. The next thing I want you all to know about is the event called the Spring Bazaar. The Detroit College ambassadors are putting those events on. And let me share my screen again so you all can see that flyer. And this is the event, the Spring Bazaar. So basically it's an event to de-stress, to after COVID and finals and things like that, you know, it's been a stressful time. So Decan and College Ambassadors has put together this event. There'll be food trucks, DJs, game trucks, vendors, performances, giveaways. It's going to be a lot going on, and it's a great event, and you all should definitely attend. This will be April 25th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's free to RSVP, and it's open for you all. It's here to allow students and families to de-stress after like finals. Okay, and we'll get to those questions in 1 second for things related to the announcements. The next thing we want to let you all know that there is college advising today at 4:45. So any of you all who need help still going through college applications, scholarship, things like that, group advising is available. Particularly today, group advising will be focused on scholarships. So there are scholarships that you still want to apply to outside the Detroit Promise. Christina Johnson, our college advisor, will be there to help walk you all through that. And Christina can drop the link in the comments. We also want to let you know still about the SAT update. So looking to see, stop sharing my screen, looking to see what the SAT updates are. Do your test scores align with that school? Do you have to submit test scores at all? Also understanding the difference between the Detroit Promise scholarship requirements and other scholarship requirements. While the Detroit Promise scholarship may not require an SAT score, it's important that you make sure other scholarships that you're applying to don't require an SAT score too, or if they do require an SAT score, that you're submitting that, even if a school admission policy is test optional or the Detroit Promise is test optional or test neutral, still making sure you're looking at those other institutional scholarships and seeing whether or not you need to have a certain test score to receive those. And you can find our SAT updates on our website, and that's DetroitPromise.com. Hello, and now I want to welcome our guest, Gabriel Doss here from Google, who's here to talk to you all about an opportunity that some of you all might be eligible for and interested in. And with that, I'll pass the mic over to Gabriel to talk about the opportunity.
Thank you for that introduction. I hope you all are doing well. I'm here from Google to talk to you all about the Computer Science Summer Institute, which is a program that takes place this summer. It is a 7-week summer camp to focus on computer science, and it's entirely free. In fact, we will pay you to attend. And so just a little bit on my background and then the background of the program. So I'm a native Detroiter. I went to Detroit Public Schools. And after pursuing, college and my career, I began at Google about 8 years ago in our advertising department. And so Google does a lot of different things. Not all of it is just computer science, but this program in particular, the Computer Science Summer Institute, is sort of a pipeline into Google. So whether you are interested in computer science or not, I strongly encourage all of you college seniors to apply to this program. I'm coming to you with a bit of urgency because the deadline is at midnight tonight. We've sent out a few blasts already within your Promise newsletter, so hopefully this isn't the first time you've heard of this, but the deadline is tonight. And the application is super simple. All it really requires you to enter is an unofficial copy of your high school transcript. And in order to be eligible, you need to already be admitted to a four-year university. And so I understand many of our rising seniors already fit that profile. And again, in terms of entry into Google, even if you aren't a computer scientist, but you think, hey, Google would be a cool place to work one day, or I would love to learn more about how these things work, even if you just have an interest in it, go ahead and apply. We have this program nationally, but we've had it for the past 3 years in Detroit. And let me tell you, as a native Detroiter, it's so important to me that you all are able to take advantage of this opportunity. Google is a great company to work. Obviously, we have, Google search and YouTube and Android and all those fun things. But also our people are great. And I trust that you all will have a great time in the camp. It is virtual for the record, so you are not required to attend anything. Except, to log in daily for the camp. And again, there's a stipend available. So, unlike the rest of the year where you were just required to get online, we will actually pay you to get online and obtain these skills. And what this leads to is, when you are a junior or a senior in college, you can apply to our BOLD internship, which is our college internship. And then after that, you should have an opportunity to actually apply at Google. And so that's a very short 4 years away. And so I want you all to take this opportunity now so that you can take advantage of career opportunities at Google later. So I'm going to place the link to the program in the chat. And if you all don't have that, again, if you Google the Google Computer Science Summer Institute, the application is super quick. And please feel free to reach out to your counselors as well as me if you have any questions at all. If anyone wants to throw a question in the chat right now, I'll go ahead and take a look. Okay, what is the next step after applying? So after applying, we will go ahead and review all of our applications, of course. It's Google, so it's a competitive application process, right? There are a lot of people applying to this, but we work with the Promise so closely because we know that y'all are the best in Detroit. And so I have no doubt that after your application is submitted, we will review it and then get in contact with you. And if you want more information on like the dates of the program, those are listed on the site as well. Okay.
Questions about Google's program? This is a great opportunity for you all. Like Gabriel said, even if you are not necessarily interested in the topic area for the program, it's still great experience. You gain great skills from it. So we were talking about this last week about how to take advantage of certain opportunities, how to explore certain internships or summer programs. So definitely is in line with what we're talking about at our last Facebook Live. So definitely take advantage of this opportunity. And the link should be showing on the screen, and it's also in the comments. There's no questions.
I see one more question I want to go ahead and address while it's here. And actually 2 questions about the essay prompt for the scholarship. And so, okay, actually 2 separate questions. One is just for the regular writing prompt. The question that is posed, pitch an idea for an app that would help with sustainability. And that can be anything from recycling to food waste or energy. It asks what features would the app have and how would one of these features work, and also how would it possibly impact the user of the app. But they're only asking you to write about 200 words for that. So that's like 2 paragraphs on any app to do with recycling, sustainability, saving energy. And as Detroiters, we encounter that type of stuff every day. So I know that this group can come up with 2 paragraphs around sort of what that could look like. And the purpose of this question is just to understand how you think, right? At Google, not everyone is an engineer, but we do have to be cognizant of, hey, how do users use an application? And when we use, TikTok or Snap or anything, right? We're conscious of like what makes that app interesting. And so they're asking you to take that and apply it to this question. In terms of the on-site scholarship, you likely can use anything that you've already wrote there, as long as it articulates sort of why you should be a great candidate for this. I am not positive if that is related to this one, actually, as I take a close.
I think that question was for us about the topic for today's Facebook Live.
Okay, cool.
But you do have a question that is on the screen. Is it going to be a paid internship?
Okay. So there is a stipend available with the program. So this is sort of a perfect storm, because typically the stipend was for you to commute, and we would host it in our downtown Google office in Little Caesars Arena. And so we hope one day we can get back to hosting it in person. But they will still give you the stipend even though you aren't commuting. And so it is not, we don't call it a paid internship, but you do receive a stipend as a result of joining the program. Awesome. Anything else I can answer for you all? Perfect. We look forward to seeing you all online this summer. Again, I know that we're working with the brightest and best. If you have any questions at all about the application, please shoot it to your coaches. They're aware of what's going on, and they can reach out to us if they need more information. Thank you all for having me.
Thanks for joining. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, great. Thank you all. For those of you who are still here, I hope you take advantage of the opportunity for the seniors that are online. Literally, Google is a great company and great experience. Just even have that on your resume can literally set you apart from other people. So definitely, definitely, definitely apply for that. Even though the application is due tonight, it's only 300 words for the essay. Get it done. It's asking about an app. I know you all are creative, so you can definitely think about an app that can help with sustainability in the environment. If you need help thinking through any of those things, join the group advising sessions and you can get help with that. So moving on, now I want to talk about the commitment form again. We talked about that in last session, the session before that, but I want to really reiterate it for those of you who don't understand what the next steps are for the Detroit Promise. So now that you're registered for the Detroit Promise, the next step is filling out that commitment form. So that means checking your email tomorrow, checking your spam, make sure it didn't go to your spam. Really just make sure you're checking your email for that commitment form when it comes out. When that commitment form comes out, you are going to click the link, log in, and you need to be admitted to the school that you are planning on signing the commitment form for. That's important. You can't fill out your commitment form if you have not been admitted to that school and you do not have a college ID. So you have to already have gone through those steps, being admitted, starting that enrollment process, getting the college ID that's necessary for you to sign that commitment form. And why it's set up like that is because you're telling us where you want to use the Detroit Promise at. So we need to know that you've already been admitted to this school. You've taken the steps to already apply. So you need to have that college ID. It's very important. And it's okay if you don't have the college ID right now. You don't need to sign the form as soon as it opens, but you need to make sure that you are doing those steps to get that college ID. If you still need to submit that college app, get it submitted ASAP, like as soon as possible, making sure that those college applications are submitted and that you are signing the form for the correct school. You will also need to know the email address that you used for the registration. If you don't know what email address you use for the registration, you can't find your commitment form. And then you also need to put that same email address on the commitment form. It makes everything easier in terms of matching you up to your account. And also why that college ID is important, because the school also needs to identify you. They need to be able to easily identify who you are. If you have the same name as someone else, then it makes it harder trying to figure out who that student is. So with that college ID, they can easily identify you. And that form is opening up tomorrow, okay? The form is for the four-year students, so students who are interested in using the bachelor's, pursuing a bachelor's, going to the four-year schools. Then the form is due May 1st. And it's important that it's due May 1st because that is the enrollment deadline for most four-year colleges. So if you do not submit that enrollment deposits and things like that by that May 1st deadline, then the school won't know that you are actually planning on attending. So it's important that you make sure that all of your information is submitted before that enrollment deadline so that school knows that you are actually planning on going in the fall. And that's why our deadline is May 1st too, because you should already have made that decision by May 1st. Okay, and I also see some questions about the Detroit Promise, whether or not you received the Detroit Promise or if you meet the requirements. So one, you should already know whether or not you meet the Detroit Promise requirements just based on the requirements. Have you lived in Detroit for 4 years? Have you attended a high school in Detroit for 4 years? Do you have a 3.0 GPA and do you meet the SAT score of the school that you are applying to? If you meet those requirements, you have nothing to worry about. Now, for the students who haven't, not sure whether or not they have a 3.0, you should definitely check your GPA and know whether or not you have a 3.0. But in terms of SAT scores and things like that, you should know whether or not you're applying to a school under the Detroit Promise who is test optional or test neutral, or whether or not they have an SAT score. Our requirements are pretty simple. So just looking at our requirements will tell you whether or not you're eligible for the Detroit Promise. Now, financial aid is not dispersed until you've gone through applying, submitting your FAFSA, they received all the information they need from you. So you won't know what your financial aid package looks like until most times after, what is it called? What are the deadlines? Class registration, add drop deadlines. That's what I was looking for. So there's something called add drop deadlines in which you have a certain time in which you can add a class or drop a class from your schedule. So for the Detroit Promise, and this is not even just Detroit Promise, it's financial aid in general. Most financial aid is not dispersed until they are sure that you are enrolled in 12 credits, you are a full-time student. They want to make sure that you are not dropping any classes after you receive your financial aid. So it's a whole process that's set up in place, and Detroit Promise we still have to follow within that same timeline. So with financial aid, you wouldn't know what the breakdown of what scholarships you have, what loans, what grants you have until you receive that financial aid package. And then after it's dispersed and things like that, which is after that ad drop deadline, then you will really know what your financial aid looks like. And that might sound scary, but at the end of the day, like I'm saying, you would know whether or not you have the Detroit Promise just based on requirements. It's never anything crazy or funky happening with the scholarship. If you meet the requirements, you get the scholarship. So if you lived in Detroit for junior and senior year, attended a high school in Detroit for junior and senior year, and you graduated, that's it for the 2 year. You have it. That's the Detroit Promise. For the 4 years, same thing. If you meet the requirements, you get it. So it's very simple. Don't overcomplicate it, you all. It's not anything that's steep. If you meet the requirements, you meet the requirements. Just make sure that you are registered, that your email address is up to date, your phone number is up to date, and you're signing that commitment form. That commitment form is going to be that important part, especially for the 4-year students, making sure that you get that commitment form signed. Okay. So if you are already registered, you'll receive that tomorrow. That's how you know that you're in the system, that we have the right information from you if you receive that commitment form email. If you don't receive that commitment form email, I would say at least by the end of the week, because I want you all to make sure you check your spam, make sure it wasn't sent to a different email address before you say, I didn't get the form tomorrow. Don't have it at least by the end of the week. Then definitely email us, reach out to us to let us know. Okay. What other questions do we have about the commitment form? And also, because of the way the Detroit Promise works, and I just want to, because the financial aid part is very important for understanding Detroit Promise. Because it's a last dollar scholarship, you might not need the Detroit Promise. If your tuition and fees are covered from other scholarships you have, other grants you receive, then you might not receive the Detroit Promise. And that's why you don't know whether or not you're using the money part of the Detroit Promise until that financial aid comes back, because you might not have a gap that needs to be covered in your financial aid. It varies from student to student. So Detroit Promise is a last dollar scholarship. So after your FAFSA, so any grant money, federal state aid is applied, so they fast for your tip. If that is applied and there's no gap left in your tuition and mandatory fees, then you wouldn't need the Detroit Promise. But if there is a gap in that tuition and mandatory fees, and then that's where the Detroit Promise comes in. We are filling a gap in your tuition and mandatory fees. Our promise to you is to have that tuition and mandatory fees covered for the 4 years that you're in a 4-year school, or the 3 years that you are in a community college. So understanding how the Detroit Promise scholarship works. So some students, like, how do I know? They expect some acceptance letter or something like that. We're not that type of scholarship. We're filling a gap in tuition and mandatory fees, and your school is really handling that financial aid part of it. They're constructing a financial aid package and letting us know whether or not there's a gap in your tuition and mandatory fees. And that's why it's important to still apply, register, fill out the steps, because even if you don't have a gap in your tuition and mandatory fees your freshman year, your scholarship may not be renewable for 4 years, even if you don't have a gap this freshman year. You might need the Detroit Promise to fill in your sophomore year, your junior year, or your senior year. So that's why it's important for you to still register, still go through with the steps, even if there is not a gap necessarily during this freshman year. You're still a Detroit Promise student, you're still in our system. Okay, any more questions about the commitment form? If you all see any, let me know. Okay. Great. One of the questions was Detroit Promise cover room and board. No, Detroit Promise is not covering room and board, only mandatory fees, tuition and mandatory fees only. Okay, great. So now we want to move on to any other comments or anything I'm missing, you all, about commitment form? Any questions I missed? Good. Okay. So now we're going to move on to talking about the scholarships on site. This is a great opportunity for students who have at least a 2.0 to hear from a college. That day, for some colleges, you will hear back that day. You'll be able to ask your questions about whatever the schools have to offer, about their admission policies, about different scholarships that are available. And the great thing about this event is, even if you weren't awarded a Detroit Promise Scholarship, schools have so many other scholarships and opportunities that a lot of you all sometimes don't consider because those schools aren't necessarily on your radar. But this is an opportunity to apply to schools that you might not have thought of. You can get a financial aid package back that is unbelievable, that might meet your whole cost of attendance, tuition fees, and room and board, while you may be considering a school and you're not sure about what financial aid they can offer you. So definitely coming to this event, speaking to the school, seeing what scholarships they have to offer, and applying, and just literally putting all your cards out there on the table. You don't want to limit yourself. You don't want to limit opportunities. So definitely apply to all of the schools and see what happens. It's the worst you can do is see what happens, see what opportunities are available to you. So with this, the requirements are, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, I just want to say, so for all the questions that we've gotten in this feed about the scholarships on site, it is for institutional scholarships. Is that correct?
Are you asking, are the scholarships for institutional scholarships?
Yeah, it's for the schools, because I think that the kids think that this is to get the Detroit Promise on site, but that's not what it is. Yeah, I'm thinking that's what they're thinking. That's why we're getting all these questions about it.
It's both. It is.
Okay.
Some colleges are offering students with as low as a 2.0 the admittance and the possibility to have the Detroit Promise Scholarship.
Okay.
Students who, because we have a 3.0 grade point requirement for the Detroit Promise, these schools came back and were like, we'll consider students under a 3.0. The 2.0 is the lowest that one of our schools are able to go, and that's where you say apply to the schools and see what schools you will get admitted to, see what scholarships are available. So for some of these schools, you might receive the Detroit Promise for that school. Some schools be like, no, you can't receive the Detroit Promise, but we do have this scholarship or this opportunity available. And that's why I'm saying come and see what schools have to offer you, because there are other scholarships out there outside of just the Detroit Promise. Some students will get the Detroit Promise at this event. Some students won't. Some students might get offered a different package. And that's why you need to submit your application, come with that letter of recommendation as an optional thing. But the letter of recommendation adds to your application. It can speak. So if you're, especially if you're that student that has that 2.0, like are really close to that 2.0 range, that letter of recommendation can increase your chances of getting accepted into that colleges. Colleges are sometimes looking at students' application holistically. So what that means is, outside of your GPA, outside of your test score, what else can speak to why the student's grades are the way they are? Did they participate in a lot of extracurricular activities? Can someone speak well on their behalf? Like the student was facing a lot of barriers, but in spite of that, still came to school every day, still tried to do their work, still tried to succeed. Those type of letters of recommendation that can speak to who you are as a student and your character can help you get admitted into those schools. So I don't want you to all downplay some of these components of getting admitted into a college. While your GPA is important, or your SAT score is important, those other aspects help. In attending events like this, in which you can speak directly to admissions people, the people that are going to be reading your applications, asking them questions, and getting that feedback at this event increases your chances of getting admitted. Those students that are really out there, who names when they come across your desk, those are the students who maybe might not meet the school's academic requirements like on point, but they have some other areas in which you can add to that campus. So I definitely and that's why those essays are important. So for the essays part, you do not have, there's no essay prompt. You can submit any essay that you feel comfortable submitting. So this can be an essay that you wrote for class. This can be an essay you already submitted for another college. This can be an essay you submitted for a scholarship. Make sure it's just Christina is going to go into more details about how to prepare this essay and what essay you should be using, but there is no scholarship prompt. And I am going to pass it over to Christina to talk more about those letter recommendations in the essay and how you all can get that done. But there is no question in particular you have to answer.
Okay. So since there is no question in particular that you have to answer for these scholarships that may be available, you should still sit down and take the time to write at least a paragraph or two, just detailing who you are. So what you should focus on for this essay so that you feel grounded and that you feel confident showing something is to detail your goals and your accomplishments and how will going to college help you reach your goals and further your accomplishments that you already have. So that is what you should do for this scholarship prompt. Just give yourself the prompt of writing down your accomplishments from high school, whether you've been a outstanding athlete, a good leader, or if you have been a supportive student, an independent student, you have overcome challenges while in high school, or if you are just a person that was really focused on academics and doing well so that you can one day go to college. Write about yourself in that way for this essay prompt. And to further it, to really make to really make these schools and these scholarships want to invest in you, talk about what your goals are. What do you want to earn your degree in? What do you want to do with your degree? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What career would you like for yourself? Or if you don't even know what career you want for yourself, then you could just talk about the experience that you want to get out of college. Do you really look forward to going to different classes and just learning about all that you can? Are you a person that really just loves learning? So really talk yourself up for this essay prompt and just give it to your and just sit down, write it down for yourself so that on the day of the on-site you are really ready to represent yourself well and show that you are a student that should be invested in and that you really deserve to do well and get the college and higher ed experience that you really want. And as for the letters of recommendation, when you get a letter of recommendation, it should be from a person that knows you. Either it should be from a person that has graded you, such as a teacher or a coach, someone that knows about your dedication and your talents and your skills. That's a good person to ask for a letter of recommendation from. Try not to get one from friends or family members. Really get one from a person that knows you in a professional manner, or if you're a volunteer, a student volunteer with an organization, whoever runs the volunteer organization and knows you, that would be a great person to ask for a letter of recommendation. You just really want someone that can talk to your character and all of your positive attributes. So that's a person that you'll want to ask for a recommendation letter, and that is what you should want in it. So when you ask for a recommendation letter, make sure that you give the person some time, at least a week or two in advance, and when they ask you what they want to be written about you, just let them know that you just want them to talk about your growth and the positive things that they've noticed about you as a person, so that it can really be shown that once you are accepted to a university, or or once a scholarship committee decides to give you money, that you will be a good person to invest in. So really showing how you have the potential to grow and be better in the future. So that's what you really want to do to prepare for the on-site when it comes to the essay and the letter of recommendation, which is optional because you can speak to yourself better than most people, than anyone else, because you know yourself. So that's how you should really take it. Just look at it as a real positive opportunity, this on-site, and not like a challenge or a major evaluation of yourself.
I want to show. I'm gonna show this one first since it's about the essays. Can the essay prompt be one we use for a university already? So yes, the essay prompt can be one used from a university already. Just make sure you get it, peer reviewed again if you need to, or by a counselor or teacher, just to make sure that if there are any changes that you want to make, that they've been made. But you can use the same essay that's used from a university. Just make sure that's the best writing sample that you can submit. Don't use that writing sample just because you already have it available. Is that the best writing sample that you can produce, that you can submit? So if that university essay is the one that you really put your heart into, spent your time on, which it should be, then submit that. You can submit that essay. So we have multiple questions about when is the on-site event. So it's every Thursday in April. So every Thursday in April, starting in April, will be every Thursday. We would like students to register the Friday before the next event. So this Friday, you will be registering for the one that will be happening next week. And then that Friday, you'll be registering for the one that happens the week after. But every Thursday in April, these events will be taking place. Do not wait to the last minute just because it's like, there's 4 different events. I'll just go to the last one. Don't put off stuff. Just get it done. Get these applications submitted, hear back from these schools, and see what opportunities you have available. You don't want to be making these decisions at the last minute, especially with these being 4-year universities who have May 1st enrollment deadlines. So make sure you definitely take advantage of that and register as soon as possible. Okay, are there multiple that answered that question? Any more questions about the on-site? Any people that might be new who missed it? Any questions about the essay writing prompt?
We've got one. Is it in person or virtual? It will be a virtual event.
This is virtual. And only students who are registered for the Detroit Promise can attend. You have to be registered for the Detroit Promise, have at least a 2.0, have an essay, a letter, a recommendation is optional, and also your transcript. Those are all the things that the students need. If a student is not registered and meets those, or not registered but has all those other pieces, go register for the Detroit Promise so you can get that email to attend the event. And if the student registers today, or sometime within this week, you can also just shoot us an email, be like, hey, my student just registered, but I want to make sure they get access, to the on-site event. That's also an option. So if you are registered for the Detroit Promise, you should have received an email about it. So if you're not registered, please do so. But if you are registered for the Detroit Promise, you should have received an email inviting you to the event. That is a good question.
It is a good question. If you can get your, because more than likely you'll be getting your transcript from your high school counselor or college advisor. So as long as you can get a school official to sign off on your transcript, whether it's official, unofficial, or not, then that should be great. I know I'm not sure if it has to be official, but if you can get it signed, then that's great. That's what you should aim for.
Just ask your counselor for a copy of your transcript. They can send it to parchment, can download it themselves, but ask your counselor for a copy of your transcript. And I'm checking right now to see if that has to be unofficial or official.
Okay.
And I also just dropped, and I'll put this, any questions can be emailed to info@detroitpromise.com. Any, like I said, if you register for the Detroit Promise but didn't receive that email, just shoot us an email about that and you can receive it. Okay. Nisha, you want to talk about college applications and the on-sites and how?
Yep. I'll be talking about college applications. And so I know Christine talked about it just briefly, but with the college applications, if you plan on applying or doing the on-site numerous of the schools, then you will want to try to get those applications done beforehand. So try to knock out a few for the first batch, and then because these events are every Thursday, you don't have to knock out 8 applications in one sitting. Maybe do 2 and then go to that on-site and do 2 more. You really just want to have them done beforehand because some of the applications will be longer. So some university applications require an essay or require additional information. So you just want to make sure that you're prepared. You don't want to sit with all 8 on-sites and not have one of those applications done, because then that could just make the process longer, or you may have to reschedule and come back for that. So if you're planning on just doing one, you can do it on the day of, but try to just have those done beforehand. And then with the college applications, make sure if you aren't going to do the on-sites, just make sure that you're looking at those deadlines. Schools will have deadlines for their applications, or they'll have a rolling admissions decision. So that means that no matter when you apply, there is no deadline. You can always get an acceptance letter. Just be on the lookout for those deadlines, because you definitely don't want to miss a school opportunity just because you didn't read what the deadline was or when the application was due. And then you also want to look for that May 1st enrollment deadline, because that is when most schools are looking for you to have a decision made. The schools want you to have a decision made so that they can secure your spot at the college or university. They're asking for that because maybe universities will open back up and you have to secure your spot to live in. Maybe there are, they have to set you up for orientation. So this is really why they want you to have that, your decision made by May 1st. A lot of schools do have flexibility, but you want to reach out to the school specifically. So don't just, oh, well, I don't want to make my decision. Just reach out to the school and let them know, like, you're still weighing your options before you make that decision. And that's okay. Just, you really want to reach out to those schools specifically before you make that decision that you're just hanging on to your decision. And then also with these applications, you can come to our group advising sessions or schedule one-on-one advising if you want some help with your application. So like Christine and Christina said, Christina is having a session today, Monday, 4:45 p.m. until 5:45 p.m. And then they're going to be all week. So we have sessions Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So just join in. And if you want more information, you can just drop in the chat and we can put the information down in there.
Muted. And about the transcript, so it's an unofficial transcript. So if you can download your transcript from your account, then it at least has to have the first semester of your senior year on it, though. So I repeat, unofficial transcript at least needs to have the first semester of your senior year. Any other questions? Let's see. Any other questions about admitted days, commitment form? I think someone asked someone responded about the essay prompt to them already. Okay.
Yep. I'm seeing a recurring question of, can they go to multiple on-site sessions? I'm seeing this one a lot.
So you should attend just one session. You receive an individual, so you can attend one session, but just pick which date you want to attend. There's no point in attending multiple sessions. One session should be good enough. If you have follow-up questions, my school will follow up with you, but you don't necessarily need to attend another session to do that. Once you attend one session, you should be good. So I just also want to stress that at this event, so you can be admitted to a college at this event without being eligible for the Detroit Promise. So I reiterate that you can be admitted to a college at this event and not necessarily receive the Detroit Promise. So I want to let you all know that each school has different requirements. So while you can get accepted, the school might not necessarily accept you for their Detroit Promise scholarship. And like I said, schools have other institutional scholarships that they can offer you and different financial packages, but neither admissions or scholarships are guaranteed. This is a time for students who have that 2.0 or higher to really advocate for you all selves, to put yourself in a position to get extra scholarships, to get extra admissions if you don't necessarily meet the requirements for the scholarship outright. So definitely, and that's why we're saying those essays and those letter of recommendations can really help you get admitted and potentially get other scholarships. So you all should make sure you all are checking your email, because you should have received an email with additional information. So when the dates that are available, when signups open, when signups closes, and what the requirements are. And then you will be submitting your PDFs and a writing sample and your letter of recommendation through something called FormStack. So you'll see a link within the email that you receive where you can actually submit those documents.
Okay. So, for the question, what colleges are going to be there? So, is it safe to assume that all of the partnering institutions with the Detroit Promise will be there?
Majority of our four-year colleges have committed. There are a few that have not, but majority
Okay.
of our four-year colleges have committed.
So, to figure out what colleges to expect to be there, Tanya, please go to DetroitPromise.com and go to four-year institutions so that you can see what our four-year four-year institutions are. So that's who you should expect to be there.
So someone asks, is it often that schools offer the Detroit Promise at the on-site, or is this rare? This event is new. This event was constructed for you all out of a need to adjust our GPA scores to create the opportunity for some of you all to receive the Detroit Promise and get admitted into these schools who have under that 3.0. So this event was new. It's not something that we have done in the past. So we definitely advise you all to take advantage of it, to really go and apply to these schools and see if you can get the Detroit Promise and see what other scholarships that you all have available. It's about also, because it's not just about receiving the Detroit Promise, and that's why I want you all to understand about the importance of attending virtual events, attending things related to college admissions, is that it's about putting yourself in places to receive opportunities in certain spaces. So the opportunity to be able to meet with a variety of different colleges, ask your questions about the admission process, ask some of your financial aid questions, get feedback on an essay. You will have a space in which you can actually apply to some of these schools and ask your questions. So that's outside of just the Detroit Promise. It's an opportunity for you all to apply to schools through a virtual on-site admission. This is not happening everywhere. Everyone does not have this opportunity. So I really want you all to understand the importance of it. This is a virtual on-site admissions and scholarship event. You will hear back from some schools that day. Some schools might say, hey, I want to have a further review of your application. I want to have a further conversation with you about, what I saw in your transcript or something like that. You have to be willing to do the work and to engage with college admission staff. There are students who get admitted into schools just because they were diligent enough to really meet with that college admission staff and see, what the process is and how can I get into this school. The students that literally go up is like, how can I get admitted into school? What do I need to do? And if you are serious about your education, about going to college, about having it funded, that's the type of student you need to be. You need to be really determined and speak up for yourself and ask, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? What can I add, to allow me to get accepted into the school and to be eligible for other scholarships? Okay, any other questions? Like I said, if you are registered and you're sure that you have been registered and you did not receive that email about the on-sites, email us at info@detroitpromise.com and we can check on that for you. And lastly,
It looks like Christine got kicked off, so we're going to give her a few moments to join us again, okay?
sorry about that. Let you all know about a couple of different resources. I don't know why I keep getting kicked out. I don't know, the computer doesn't like me today. So the Detroit College Access Network, and if one of you all can drop the link for that in the chat, Detroit College Access Network. And if you go to our website, Detroit Promise/resource, you can find different resources to help you all navigate the college going process. Any questions you have about how to fill out application, we can, and Detroit Promise offers one-on-one college advising. You can sign up for that and get help with this step through the college process that you need help with. The FAFSA is still open if you have not completed the FAFSA, which is necessary for you to receive the Detroit Promise. You have to complete that FAFSA if you have not done so. is still open. You can do that with a decan staff member who does one-on-one FAFSA support. So if you need help filling out that FAFSA, or maybe you got selected for verification, you don't know what that means, sign up. You can get help with that. We got another question about the unofficial college transcript. No, so if you are a senior, your intention is to use the Detroit Promise and to, when applying to the schools, then submit your high school transcript. That's what they want to see. Unofficial high school transcript. Any other questions about the Detroit Promise or anything like that that we may have missed? If you missed your question, just let us know. And definitely tell your peers about these events. Tell your peers about Detroit Promise. If there's information that you are receiving, then everybody that you know should also be receiving that information. So you should be telling, like, hey, do you know about this opportunity to get admitted to, schools virtually, whatever. However you want to communicate it to your peer group, definitely let them know that these opportunities are available. And we're just going to stick around for a couple more minutes if people have questions. And if not, then we'll be wrapping up soon. And as always, we appreciate you all for attending, coming to our lives. We'll be back again every Monday. So if you have questions, come through, drop them in the chat, and we'll be here. Any other comments from Christina or Kanisha?
Just really take advantage of the opportunity for the on-site events, and also take advantage of the opportunities for help, because me and Kanisha, we offer group college advising. I linked the decan support page, so all you have to do is go on that page and click on the group college advising button so that you can receive those services. For the last couple of group advising sessions, of which I was doing scholarship workshops, I haven't had students attend. So please attend it, because it is a no pressure, positive, supportive zone. I make it that way, make it a positive environment so that students can come in and get the help that they need. So we're here at 4:45 today. So like in the next 22 minutes, I'm going to be in Google Meet waiting for students to show up. So please show up, whether you signed up to be in our system or not. Just click the link and come on in.
So any of you all asking questions about that essay, here's the time to, have someone look over it, get those questions answered. If you don't have all your financial aid in a row and you need more scholarships, you should be coming. Like, don't miss out on these opportunities, because anything after that is just an excuse if you don't take advantage of it. So definitely come. Can you still be eligible for 4 years, even if you didn't take the ACT or SAT due to the pandemic? That's the great thing about those SAT score updates and adjustments, is that everyone does not need to submit an SAT score, depending on what school you're applying to. So going to DetroitPromise.com, clicking the SAT updates that are right there on the screen. You first go to the page, click that link, and you will be able to see what the updates are. Some schools have decided to go test optional. So what that means is you have the option to submit your test scores. So it's up to you. If you feel like your test score is really great and it adds to your application to submit it, if you feel like your GPA is great, but your test score is not so much, then you don't have to submit it. But it's based on what school you're planning on applying to. For example, Michigan State. If you have a 3.5 or higher, it's test optional. If you have a 3.0, if you have below a 3.5, so that's 3.0 to a 3.49, if you're in that range, then you still need to submit a test score. For University of Michigan, 1060 on the SAT, 21 on the ACT still, and test optional for those students who are admitted with higher GPAs. So looking through that list, but majority, it's only 3 or 4 schools that still require a test score. The rest of the schools are test optional. So going through that list, even if you haven't applied to that school, going through that list, if the application is still open, applying, if you know you meet that requirement of having that 3.0, and that's the bare minimum, is that 3.0, living in Detroit for 4 years and attended a high school in Detroit for 4 years, then that's a gateway to tuition and mandatory fees at a school. So looking through that list and seeing which schools you meet the requirement for and applying to them based off of that. You don't, so sometimes it's like, oh, I want to go to Michigan State. I want to go to Michigan State. Let's see how I can make it, make the scholarship work for that school. But if you don't have that SAT score requirement, then you might need to reevaluate how you want to use the Detroit Promise and what school you want to use it at. So it might require going back to that list, seeing what other options you have and applying there. Because all those ends, even if you don't meet the requirements necessarily for the SAT score and the ACT score requirements for that school, you might have an option you never considered before. So just exploring those different pathways. Any other questions about Detroit Promise requirements, the on-sites, commitment forms, registration? Any seniors out there that aren't registered? Also, like let you all know, for students who are interested in community college, options that you are able to defer for up to 1 year for the community college, if that was something that you are interested in. Let you all know that. So even if you are not planning on going to college right off the bat, register for the Detroit Promise. You will have that option to at least attend community college if you defer for 1 year. So student asked a question. I submitted my SAT test score to a college and got accepted, but it's a low score for the Detroit Promise. Would that mean I do not have to submit my test score to Detroit Promise for that college? So if the school requires a test score for the Detroit Promise, then you have to submit that. So you have to submit that test score if the school requires a test score for the Detroit Promise. Now, if the school required a test score for admissions and not for the Detroit Promise, then you don't have to submit that. You don't need to submit your scores for the Detroit Promise. So it depends on what school you are applying to. So it's only a couple of schools that have a test score right now. So if you got admitted to those schools and did not, but don't meet the SAT score requirements that are listed on our website, then you will not receive Detroit Promise at that school, but you still would be admitted. And the Michigan State requirements, that's a popular school. They're on the screen and available for any of you all that need to see it.
So this came straight off of the Detroit Promise website. So go to DetroitPromise.com, go to that first button that says, am I eligible? And scroll down the page. You'll be able to see the test score and GPA requirements for every partnering for your university for the Detroit Promise. So that's straight from where this information came from. You're welcome.
For those of you who may not have been online earlier, who missed our announcements earlier, I just want to reiterate the Google opportunity. It is due tonight, and I'm going to put the website back on here for you all to see, because I can't stress enough how much of a great opportunity that is for students, and just a great resume builder and skills that you can take throughout whatever career that you are planning on being in. So definitely apply. The application is due tonight. It's only a 300-word essay that is about an app, what app you would create to help with sustainability in the environment. And if you need help thinking through that too, and if you even want to walk through that application at the group advising, then get assistance with that in the essay, then please join.
You join group advising by either going on the DCAN link that we put in or the Detroit Promise resource calendar that we put in. But I also think I put my exact link in for today. So let me just find that really quick.
I think you only posted it to YouTube.
Oh, let me find it again. I can post it right in the chat. So the group college advising starts at 4:45 today. So here is that link again. I'm going to put it in as a banner. So, and go ahead and put it in, okay, as a comment. Okay, so it's on the YouTube and it's on the Detroit Promise. Okay, so I'll upload it.
Thank you all for attending. We really appreciate. Oh, we just got another question. So I think you're referring, I don't know if you're referring to Michigan State requirement, because I'm only thinking about there's only a couple of schools that actually still have an SAT score requirement. So either U of D, Mercy, Michigan State, or U of M, and there's one other school. So like I was saying, if the school required you to submit a SAT score for admissions, and the Detroit Promise does not require you to submit a SAT score, then you don't have to submit it. But it goes by whatever that school is. So even if you got accepted to that school with the SAT score that you had, that does not mean that you will receive Detroit Promise with that SAT score if it does not match the SAT score that that school is requiring for the Detroit Promise. So you can get admitted into U of M or Michigan State with a 1,000 on the SAT, but if Detroit Promise is requiring a 1060, then you have to have that 1060.
Yep, and keep in mind, if you've gotten into the university that you want to attend, but you may not get the Detroit Promise there, especially if it's somewhere like U of M or MSU, like, please strongly consider attending anyway, because there's a lot more other resources out there in the Detroit Promise, especially if you're going to a four-year university or even a two-year school with resources. You just have the fact that you don't get the Detroit Promise to go to the exact school that you wanted just means that you have to find money elsewhere. So that's why scholarships are open. They are available to fill in any gaps that you may not get because you don't have the Detroit Promise. So please, if you got into the school that you want, please go, even if you don't get the promise, because the opportunities are still there.
I want to put you in financial harm. Financial harm. I will stress that. Going to the school that you want to go to is very, very, very important. But it's also important to not put yourself in debt. And that's what that way that Detroit Promise is trying to create for multiple students, is not to go to school with debt. And with the University of Michigan in particular, University of Michigan has to go Blue Guarantee. So if your family makes under $65,000, then you would receive tuition from University of Michigan anyway. And that's the thing about how the Detroit Promise works. It's only filling a need. It's filling a need or a gap that you all have with your tuition and mandatory fees. So even if you're applying to a school and you don't necessarily receive the Detroit Promise, that doesn't mean that your tuition and mandatory fees aren't going to be paid, because there are other scholarships and other opportunities available. But when thinking about when the school says test option, when it says test optional for the Detroit Promise, you want to think about, does your SAT score add or take away from what your application looks like or your GPA? So if you have a 3.8 GPA, but your test score is kind of low, then sometimes that GPA is enough to carry the weight of a lower test score. Now, sometimes if you're on that 3.0 range, like you're really close to that 3.0, sometimes schools want a higher test score because they, want that to kind of counterbalance you being on the lower end of that 3.0 grade point average. So that's why even schools like Michigan State, their 3.5 or higher is test optional. And then if you have between the 3.0 and 3.49, you have to still have a 20 on the ACT and a 1060 on the SAT. And that's because sometimes schools want those GPAs and test scores to balance out. And sometimes you can use one to outweigh the other in some instances. So like a really high test score can sometimes speak for a lower GPA, and a higher GPA can sometimes be like, okay, their GPA is really high. Maybe they're just not good at taking tests. So that's why sometimes school allows students to be test optional, to allow them to decide whether or not, this will benefit or harm me. Any other questions? I saw your dog, Kanisha, was trying to get some screen time.
Right. Always.
No problem. But yeah, in particular with University of Michigan, they're pretty good with financial aid packages.
Yeah. And MSU too. MSU has Spartan Advantage, which is also a very good tuition package. And once you get into college, you should continue to apply for scholarships. My experience was once I actually got into undergrad, I got more scholarships than I did when I applied in my senior year of high school. So just go for what's out there. Just look for it. It's there.
Wrap up, you all. Thank you for attending. I hope to see you all next Monday. We'll be going over another topic and stay tuned. Bye.
Bye.